Hi, I'm Jana van Rooyen, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe, and click the bell if you'd like to receive a notification when we release our new videos. With me in the studio today, I've got Willie Pelser. Hi, Willie.
Hello again, Jana.
So last week we warned our viewers to put their seatbelts on after Liberation Day announcement from Trump and our policy vote. What has happened in the market since?
Yeah, Jana, thank you for warning us to put the safety harnesses on. It actually felt like more like a bungee jump thing than a roller coaster. But we're in both of them. So the market did react super negative on the Liberation Day announcement and so on. We saw, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, you name it. All over the world, markets just went into almost like a free fall. And the question always is why. The easiest way to explain it, again, is uncertainty. And why the uncertainty? Because obviously the tariffs, and we've mentioned it last week, people don't know how to adjust their forecast in principle. Because what's the implications of the tariffs on pricing, input costs, down the line into inflation? Are the economy, or in general, the world economy going into a recession? The answer is yes, principles. So now people try and analyze, okay, what's the impact then on the value of the shares that we're buying? And remember, we've been saying all over the world that the US market, some of the markets are actually overvalued. They're trading more expensive than they should be. So markets are always looking for a reason. A reason came in the sense of a factual thing, the announcement of the tariffs. So then people, they have to adjust. The markets went into free fall, and it's not nice to see when those things happen, full stop.
Yes, it was terrible. So then suddenly on Thursday evening, we had a reversal of this downfall. Why did Trump suddenly have this 90-day pause?
Yeah, Jana, it's very interesting. Just to slightly correct you there, we had a positive reaction. We didn't reverse the previous negative.
Yes.
So people mustn't think it's over now. But it felt like it because the Nasdaq was up like 12%. I think an intraday close like that, it was the best since 2020 or somewhere there, 2010. I can't remember the date. But it was a huge move, and it was just because Trump said pause. So back to this an uncertainty environment, the fact that he now said, okay, in principle, everybody is now on a 10% tariff rate, plus it's postponed for 90 days, almost gave a little bit of a sense of relief. Oh, okay, it's not as bad as it is. And I'm not ignoring the fact that China has actually been hit by 125%. So that's a total different story. But why did he stop? And I think I was reading an article yesterday. He was with his advisors and they were flying somewhere back from somewhere to somewhere. And it sounds like the advice came that this was maybe too harsh as a start. And the impact on the market, I don't think they expected that much to happen in a sense of the free fall on share prices and so on. Because underlying all of this, Trump is trying to make America great, and he's telling people, I'll make you wealthy again. And this is not, the wealth effect is not working to that extent. So my theory is, yes, there was a bit of consensus to say, okay, let's tone it back. But that brings in uncertainty again, because what happens after 90 days? What happens in these 90 days? So yes, the market had a relief rally type of thing. We're not out of the woods yet.
And we could see it this morning again. What happened this morning now?
Jana, it's interesting. People always say, go and look at the bond market for your answers. And I think that was the advice to Trump as well from his advisors. So I'm saying, why should we look at the bond market? The US 10-year, the yields escalated, so the price went down. Now, to put it into perspective, the US 10-year bond is deemed to be a risk-free rate all over the world. It's deemed to be the safest asset almost. It's used in all types of pricing models. Michael has explained it a few times in previous money morsels. So it's an input into valuing shares. It's an input into valuing, whether something's expensive or not. It's an input into all types of model to say if the economy is in equilibrium and all of those type of things. Plus, what's coming through is that foreign sellers, because the biggest holders of US debt is actually not the US or investors in the US, it's actually foreigners. And interesting enough, China is a big holder of that. So you can have a conspiracy theory in saying they're dumping it. In principle, this risk-free element of the bond market are challenged now, because the world's saying, hang on, if your risk-free rate's doing this, are we losing confidence in the US economy? Are we losing confidence in the management of the US economy, which is Trump and so on and so on, which I think is to some extent probably a reflection of the uncertainty as, well, this is so uncertain that the yield on the 10 years is shooting up, and it's throwing this disarray into the market again. And that's why we had the all fall down again, because remember, the 90 days is not over yet. The change on that tariffs is not over yet. And I think that's my concern for the time we're in this time around, is that this value perception is now in total disarray because of the bond market and where share prices are. And on top of that, what we said before, no one knows how to value a basic economic principle of inflation, the interest rate scenario, and the economic outlook going forward. So it is a concern. Yeah.
So, as an asset manager, what would you do in such a in this week that we had such volatility?
Jana, the simple answer is you sit in your hands. Yeah, it sounds as simple as that, but the best is not to do anything. And the only time, so my advice to clients, always our advice is, stick to the plan you have as far as your wealth plan, your retirement plan, whatever you call it, is concerned. If there's a drastic change in your own circumstances, and now you get this on top of that, maybe speak to your advisor, maybe speak to your asset manager, but us, as the investor at last resort. So how do we look at this? The first thing we have to look at is all these metrics that I've mentioned. Are there some substantial changes to the value that we've ascribed to a company, in a sense of their revenue streams, their profit line, their cost line, and all of those things? So in this scenario, how much will tariffs, doesn't matter if it's 10%, 20 or whatever that, how much will it affect the next 2, 3, 4 years outlook for the company's fundamentals? If there's a dramatic change in those, even in these circumstances, what we would do is we will tone back on that share from a weight position in a portfolio. Simplistically put, if it's 5%, we think we should be at 3%. We'll bring it back a bit. And then on the other side of it is, if things are now coming into place, which they do sometimes for companies where we would like to be exposed. So I'll use 2 examples. Raubex is a company that we favor at the moment. They're in the building industry, for that matter, in the road infrastructure and so on. So their share price is now way below the value that we had for that share. Given all these scenarios, we think there's now proper value to add this share. Take Bidcorp as an example, a food company all over the world. They don't import lettuces into one, from this country to that country. Everything is in the country. So tariffs are not really going to affect them. Yes, the price level, if inflation adjusts and so on. So it's just a concept to think about. So same thing, share prices get hammered and then it brings value. It's not to say we're buying at the bottom. No one can tell you that. But those are the type of things that we have to take into account.
Thank you so much for that insight and that advice, Willie.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.